Welcome to Flamp Flamp Sports. My name is Richard Harris, and let's talk sports. Welcome to Flamp Flamp Sports. My name is Richard Harris. Today is the Super Bowl. The Atlanta Falcons and the New England Patriots are set at 3:30 and change to do battle for the championship of the NFL. The number one defense versus the number one scoring offense. The MVP versus the real MVP. Two great defensive-minded coaches. Belichick, the greatest coach in the last 25, 30 years, going up against the new Belichick and Dan Quinn, who's been to 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls. This game is the toughest Super Bowl to predict since the Giants played the Bills back in the 90s. And the reason why it is that both teams are capable of scoring 40 points. Both teams are capable of putting on a defensive display. Most people think that this game will come down to Belichick's defense versus Atlanta's offense because Atlanta's defense hasn't really stopped anyone. They have not been asked to stop anyone. Although last week against Aaron Rodgers, they were quite impressive. But the bottom line is this game has got a lot of people scratching their heads because Atlanta's pretty good. And Atlanta has played really good competition all year. They played Seattle twice. They played Green Bay twice. They played Denver. They've played Oakland. They've played Kansas City and lost on a crazy play at the end of the game when a guy blocked an extra point and ran it back for 2 points. They have been in every game they've played this year. And the Patriots have had a crazy year. They didn't have Brady for 4 games. He came back and went 12-1 and basically shown that he's the real MVP of this league. But the Patriots haven't played anybody all year. If you think about it, the Patriots have played Denver and Pittsburgh and Baltimore. That's pretty much it. The rest of their schedule has been kind of soft. And the one team that beat them with Brady was the Seattle Seahawks, who Atlanta beat soundly twice. So what does it all mean? Well, you give Bill Belichick 2 weeks to prepare, and he has been brilliant in this moment. The reason why the Giants have beaten the Patriots in 2 Super Bowls has not been because of the Patriots' defense. It's been because of the fact that the Giants' defense itself has simply outplayed the Patriots' defense and outplayed the Patriots' offense. So basically, this is probably the first Super Bowl since the Bills Super Bowl where the Patriots defense is going to have to do something. And yes, you could talk about the greatest show on turf against the Rams. Marshall Faulk was the running back out of the backfield who was sensational, who had a great second half. He had a bad first half, but the second half, the Rams made it a game, and obviously the Brady's led the Patriots to victory. But in that Bills Super Bowl, the Bills had 4 receivers who were getting open, plus Thurman Thomas running all over the place. It was difficult for the Giants to try to stop them. So, who do I think is going to win? I've been saying for 2 weeks I think it's going to be Atlanta. Because if you know Belichick's history, and if you study Belichick as I have, the one weakness of Belichick's defense is the inability to cover running backs out of the backfield. If you go back to his days when the Giants had to play against Robert Del Pino and the Rams, and Del Pino used to kill him. You go back to that Super Bowl where Thurman Thomas killed the Giants, running and catching passes. That's the one thing the Giants have struggled with, and Belichick defense has struggled with back in those days, was covering running backs out of the backfield. And the beauty of this Atlanta team, as Atlanta will throw the ball to not only to the 2 running backs, but also to the fullback, throw it to the tight end, and also 4 different receivers. In other words, you almost have to play zone underneath, or you have to play a kind of defense that kind of stops them within the first 10 yards and try to make him throw over your head to make plays. And Atlanta has that kind of receiver who can get open over the top to make plays, of course, in both Sanu and Julio Jones. And this kid Gabriel coming out of nowhere is also tough to stop. But the other side of that is Atlanta can't cover anybody. Atlanta's problem all season long is that its secondary has been just picked upon all the time. And basically they end up playing these high-scoring games that go to the fourth quarter, and the coach says, all right, we just need one stop, and he brings in the veteran Dwight Freeney, and he and Beasley get a sack, or they create a problem, and they hold on for victory. Because it's not like Atlanta had a season of blowing people out all over the place. They played in games where points were scored against them. And so that's why I think it's a high-scoring Super Bowl, because if it's not, then that's not good for the Falcons. Brady is a special player. Belichick is a special coach, but maybe it's time. You know, earlier this year we saw Clemson take on Alabama, where Alabama was, supposed to win because it's Alabama. And Clemson turned the tables on them because they had a quarterback who knew how to make plays. I think the same thing's going to happen in this game. I think it's going to be close for the most part. It's going to come down to the fourth quarter. And in the end, the Atlanta Falcons will be your Super Bowl champion. Matt Ryan will culminate his MVP season with the Super Bowl MVP. And the NFC will reign supreme once again. My name is Richard Harris. It's just one man's opinion.